I stopped leaving work early for my husband's family dinners after realizing his family never includes me. So for about 2 years, every Thursday I've been packing up at 4:30 and sneaking out of the office to make it across town to my in-laws by 6 p.m. That sounds minor until you understand what my Thursdays actually look like. I'm a project coordinator. Our team stand-up runs from 4 to 4:30, which means I've basically been a ghost for every single one of them. Half listening, checking my phone under the table, already gone in my head. My boss, Lisa, pulled me aside in September and said she'd noticed I seemed distracted on Thursdays. I told her it was a recurring family thing. She nodded, but I know what that kind of nod means. I've handed off a presentation because it would have run late. Turned down a client happy hour twice. Said no to a department dinner the week before my performance review because it fell on a Thursday and I didn't want to show up to Carol's after 7 p.m. like an afterthought. Carol is my mother-in-law. She's not mean. She's not cold exactly. She just lights up when Dan walks in the door and kind of looks past me like I'm a +1 who showed up alongside the person she was actually excited to see. I've been sitting at that table for 2 years, passing dishes, asking follow-up questions, nodding along to stories that need like 20 years of context I don't have. Dan's sister Rachel would talk directly to Dan about things, their dad's physical therapy, a long weekend the family was thinking about doing, and I'd piece together the details later in the car on the way home if they came up at all. I told myself that's just how families work. You don't get handed 30 years of history just because you married into it. Then a Thursday came where I couldn't leave. A contractor situation went sideways and I was stuck on a call until almost 7 p.m. I texted Dan and said go ahead, I'll get there when I can. I showed up around 7:45. The table was cleared. Carol said, oh, we figured you weren't coming, even though I'd told Dan I was on my way. They'd already put everything in containers. I ended up reheating food and eating at the kitchen counter while the conversation kept going in the next room. I didn't say anything about it on the drive home, but I started paying attention after that. Over the next few weeks, Rachel would mention things at dinner, a Sunday brunch they'd all done, some restaurant the whole family had tried, and when I said I hadn't heard about that, she'd go, oh, it was kind of last minute. I could tell from the way everyone else knew exactly what she was referencing that it had been planned and discussed and settled well before that Thursday. The real thing happened about a month later. Dan's cousin got engaged and there was a family brunch to celebrate. I found out about it the day before, almost as an aside. Dan mentioned it while we were watching TV, just, oh, by the way, we're doing brunch at Mom's Saturday. I asked when that had been decided. He said they'd been talking about it for a couple weeks. I only knew because he happened to say something. A few days after the brunch, Dan handed me his phone to look at a photo. When he unlocked it, I saw the notification preview. The family group chat. I didn't say anything right then. I just looked at the name and scrolled past it. That night I asked him about it. He got very quiet, which is a specific thing Dan does when he's about to explain why something is not a big deal. He said his mom manages the chat and she gets confused when there are too many people in it. It's just easier for her to keep it contained. I said she added Rachel's boyfriend in March. He's been in the chat for 7 months and they've been together for 10. Dan looked at the floor. I said, how long have you known I wasn't in it? He said, it's not really a big deal. I said, I leave work at 4:30 every Thursday. I handed off a presentation so I wouldn't be late. I've skipped 2 client events. I said no to a department dinner right before my review. I have rearranged my job for 2 years to get to a table that apparently has a version of this family I'm just not part of. He said he would talk to his mom. He'd get her to add me. I said, don't. Seriously, don't bother. He said, you're making this into something it's not. I said, I'm really not. The next Thursday I stayed at work until 5:30. Finished my stand-up, actually paid attention during it for once. Dan went to dinner alone. He got home around 9 p.m. and said his mom had asked where I was and seemed hurt that I hadn't come. I just looked at him for a second. She seemed hurt. He hasn't asked me to come since.